back, ladies and gentlemen, to the most complete and largest database of classic cars on the planet. Today, we continue on with the most primitive engine disassembly on the face of the earth. This video, I'm just going to be showing I'm just going to be measuring main journals, rod journals, or connecting rod journals, if you will. Crankshaft looks good, especially on the main bearings, which is, to me, the most important part. Why? Because main bearings are not only a lot harder to find, they are also a lot more expensive. If all goes well, I should be able to buy the rod bearings from the next engine, which was the 283, if I'm not mistaken. The AMC 283. It should be the same as this engine. However, the main bearings are different, unfortunately. You cannot use the 704P main bearing set in this engine. How do I know that? Because I actually bought it and I tried it. MS704. You cannot use that one. Does not work, unfortunately. VC315J010 4289M. They look almost identical, but they don't fit, unfortunately. You can make them fit. It's not a huge difference. Especially with these ones, they're a little bit narrower. If you were to grind the side of the bearing caps and somehow the engine block as well, then you could get them to fit, which would actually be really nice. I suspect it wouldn't be too difficult to grind this part off, but the other problem is that there might be a different circumference, so that project is out of the list for now. I think it's 282 against displacement. And the rod bearings have the same diameter. Not sure about the width, but they should match. It costs $15 for a whole set. Rock Auto, so I'm just gonna buy it and find out. But first, I want to check the size of the journals, because I want to make sure I need to know if it's standard or if it's undersized. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So let's start. This crankshaft, by the way, is the 3169034F. I'm not sure of the displacement. There were three slightly different versions of this engine, and the only thing that changed was the displacement. I imagine some odd things on the block might make it slightly different, but no major differences that you can that will affect the use of standard parts or fitment in the car. And so there was the 2.8 liter, which is the 172. Then there was the 3 liter, which is the 184, and finally the 196, or 195.6 rather, 3.2 liter. And well, the only thing that changed was this distance here from the center line, crankshaft here, center line to the center of the connecting rod. So basically that's called the stroke. So by making this distance here to here longer, you increase the compression as well as increasing the amount of fuel that is sucked into the engine, fuel and air mixture that's sucked into the engine, which and therefore increases the horsepower, torque, and the consumption of the engine. So the smaller this here, the more fuel economy it has. So the biggest one was, which is the one that I had on the flat tab, that's why it was pretty fast. And it was 4¼ inches if I'm not mistaken. And the smallest one was like 3.125 if I'm not mistaken. Like that. So just think of it, from 2.8 liters to 3.2 liters. From the smallest to the biggest displacement, works displacement. So that's almost, 0.4. That's almost half a liter. So it is. It's not a huge difference, but in terms of fuel economy, that's probably 20%, which is not bad. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna look this number up. I might, out of curiosity. Not that I really care. Look this number up and see what's the crankshaft's diameter. You can figure out if this is 172, 184, or 196. This should be a 195.6, but it could be something else, one of the other ones. And likewise, you could just change the crankshaft to get more or less horsepower. Costs around over $100. Some places as much as $150. If you try egg, it's $300. It is very expensive, especially considering that it's just aluminum and zinc and copper. So now a crankshaft grind costs $70 at one place and $140 at another place in the big city. So it's actually cheaper for me to grind the crankshaft and have the suitable bearings and then to grind the crankshaft accordingly. So I was lucky enough to find a whole new set of main bearings. Same place that I bought the engine. So I was looking around, the guys told me he didn't have it, but there's just a lot of stuff there, no organization. So as I was looking through some stuff, walking around, I noticed this. And there you have it, main bearing set, Toledo steel. So that's somebody wrote on it. As you can see, the original number is MS2559M. And the dash, the number that comes after it, is the oversize. If it says STD, that stands for standard. However, this one is a 30, so it's 30 thousandths of an inch thicker. Which means if this crankshaft is standard, we'd have to grind it, have it grinded at 30 thousandths of an inch. So, since I have the set, I'd rather not do that. main bearings. Why? Because I'm reducing pretty much 3 times the life of the engine. The engine will last, let's say, 500,000 kilometers with the standard. Then you have to regrind it. You grind it to 0.10, and then you get another 500,000 kilometers. Then you grind it again. So now you're at 0.2 thousandths of an inch from the original size, and so on. If you grind it the third time, by the third time you have maybe over 1,000,000 kilometers on it. You grind it to 0.3. So I'm reducing that every time. So we're going to see if I can find main bearings, because like I said, the crankshaft, and I save some money on the grind, but like I said, the main bearings are really expensive. In terms of cost, immediate cost, it would be easier to just get it grinded and use this set here. But in terms of longevity, I'd rather just put the standard bearings in, since these are fine. However, at some point, somebody really messed this engine up. So I don't know if they tried to possibly rebuild it. I noticed that the connecting rods, they actually only have one squirt hole, but the bearings on it actually have 2 holes. So I don't think it would have been done originally like that. So it sort of tells me that at some point, and when I got the engine, the head was off, the bolts were all missing, all of them, even on the intake, they were all missing. So the gasket wasn't there either. So it definitely tells me that somebody fiddled around with the engine. So it is possible that this crankshaft could have been grinded at some point. So in order to make sure, we got to measure it before looking for bearings. And that's what I'm finally going to do after a lot of chit chat, or shit chat. Some of the bearings, the rod journals, aren't the best. But my main concern is the main bearings, and they're all fine. This one here has got a little bit of scratch in here. Just one continuous line, which is alright. Not a big deal. This bearing, this journal is fine. This one is, it's not the best. And these two in the middle where the pistons were bad, they're pretty badly damaged. The other ones are all fine. This one on the end is pretty bad. So wherever the pistons were damaged, which is from here to there, they're pretty much bad. So anyways, let's measure it. I'm going to start with this vernier, and then I'm going to use the other ones, the C-shaped ones. This is spot on with what the manual says. Sure. Sorry, actually, that's almost it. It's not. Yeah, we're at 2.095 exactly. So this is a standard bearing. Rod journal. I'm just going to stick the vernier at that mark and see The other ones are about there. 0.5. Using some paper, wipe it down. This one seems like it's a little bit smaller. How much? Thing is, I could probably just put everything back together and just replace the pistons and that bad connecting rod, and the engine should run fine. But since it's already out, I'd like might as well put some new bearings in. Otherwise, you gotta pretty much do this again in the future. They're all at 2.095. It's a little bit out of round. Not really. Yeah, it is a little bit out of round. At this point. Not the best vernier here. Last one. I can at least replace the main bearings, which are a lot harder to change than the, not extremely hard either, but they're harder to change than the rod bearings. If I can at least put some new main bearings in and change the rod bearings later, that might be an option. But stuff from Rock Auto usually ships fast. Yeah, they're all fairly good. So, at least the rod bearings, we know they're standard. wood, made of wood. Want to set things down on bad surfaces. Let's see how the main bearings look. Grainy, so I'm going to show you guys in just a second what new bearings look like. Just pull out one of those bearings. See what it looks like. New bearing looks like. That's what a new bearing looks like. Right, so now for the main bearings. Now, remember, it's got to be really clean. You need a lot of precision. If you set the dial caliper on a rough surface or a scratched part that is scratched, it will give you wrong readings. By the way, I'm not gonna bore out cylinder walls. I'm just going to replace the pistons with standards at home and give them a home the cylinder walls. So any major machining makes this project not worthwhile. Spend hundreds of dollars on boring out an engine, even replacing a cylinder liner. Right. We're at 2.48. .4 77. We're all at about 2.477. We're all at 2.477. And I'm just going to double check with the other calipers. Now I am exaggerating a little bit because with the bearings, as I was saying, the main bearings, I believe they go all the way up to, oh no, those are the rod bearings. Take it back. The rod bearings go all the way up to up to a 0.6 over, or 60. 60 under or over, that's subjective. So you can grind them a lot, but the main bearings, I don't think I've ever seen any 40 under bearings. So at 30, pretty much at the end of the life of the engine, in theory, or at least at the end, availability of parts. Main bearings. After 0.30, it's the last available main bearings. That's what I